trapped in this particular bank with, of course, no word coming in. That makes the entire crowd furious because they are asking for answers. What should they be doing next, and why exactly were they not notified ahead of this bank being barred, the New India Co-operative Bank, from granting or renewing any loans, accepting any sort of fresh deposits, making any investment, disbursing any sort of payment for its liabilities, or selling any of its properties due to supervisory concerns emanating from the recent material developments in this particular bank, and to protect the interest of the depositors of the bank as well. The question is also going to be on the necessities of people, like that of the salaries and of course the deposition that they have done over the period of time. What happens to that? How exactly are they going to proceed with that? These are some of the questions that people continue to ask, with of course highlighting that the bank authorities have not answered their questions and the helpline numbers are not responding either. Some more voices coming in from the ground. Let's take a look at all of those as well.
दिक्कत है, यानी हमारा अकाउंट 1982 से इतना भरोसा था बैंक के ऊपर, अभी ये बैंक ही उड़ गए तो हम बड़ी बैंक में भरोसा कैसा करेंगे? क्यों रखें उधर भी पैसा? आप मेरी बात समझो, क्योंकि इतनी छोटी बैंक हम लोग को रात को 7 बजे जब जी न्यूज़ पे देखते हैं तब मालूम पड़ता है कि भाई ये उड़ गई है। तो पब्लिक, बाकी पब्लिक का पैसा हम लोग तो चलो थोड़ा एडजस्ट कर लेंगे, जो गरीब आदमी बेचारा जाएगा कहाँ पर? वो हम लोग, मेरा यहीं पे शॉप है, मैं छाया मेडिकल कर दुकान चलाता था, अभी बंद हो गई, लेकिन हम यहाँ मैनेजर हमारे पास आए थे बैंक अकाउंट के लिए, इतने हम लोग जुने पहचानते हैं यहाँ पर।
पता नहीं था क्या, कॉल भी प्ले कर दिया है, कॉल भी प्ले किया, पता था ना इन लोगों को, कॉल भी प्ले किया है, इसका 60,000 मेरा 200।
My colleague Kartik Malhotra joining us live on the broadcast. Kartik, please help us understand this entire chaos. What is the reason, and now what exactly happens to the hard-earned money of the people that has been stuck in this particular bank?
Right, so Sakshi, hi. So the story is still developing, and in fact, looking at the RBI circular, one thing that we can tell with a certain degree of assurance is that the clause that the RBI is referring to, the section 35 that RBI is referring to, is pretty much the same section which brought down the Punjab and Maharashtra Bank a few years back. And this seems to be a case of major financial irregularity. In fact, the RBI circular also mentions that there is material evidence to suggest that there is some sort of financial irregularity, due to which 26 out of 32 branches in the Mumbai region right now have actually been put on moratorium, which means withdrawals cannot happen, fresh loan issuances cannot happen, and the bank is really being restricted from going ahead and engaging in any other business activities. Now, just to put a little bit of context into the New India Co-operative Bank, this bank has been reporting losses year after year. In fact, the year ending March 2024 had a loss of about 272 crore rupees or so on its books, and a much higher figure the year before that. So I think looking at the RBI circular right now, we can tell with some degree of certainty that there is some major financial irregularity. This prima facie does not seem to be a case of just KYC compliance not being met, or the fact that that the papers, the books are not maintained in order. But from what my sources are telling me right now, who have also looked at this circular, they are saying that the case seems uncannily very similar to the Punjab and Maharashtra Bank case, which actually entailed in this whole activity of big loans to a single beneficiary, and that single beneficiary sort of taking the bank down. So that seems to be the case right now as far as the customers of the bank are concerned. Right now there's a restriction for the next 6 months, and for the 6 months I think only in certain cases there would be this allowance of up to 5 lakh rupees of withdrawal, and not beyond that. But yeah, I think the anger that we are seeing on the streets and the worry that we are seeing on the screens right now is something which is absolutely justifiable, and in the absence of any clear answers, consumers and customers of the bank are obviously getting jittery right now, thinking about their hard-earned money. And yes, the fact that they won't have immediate access to their hard-earned money is something which is going to be of a concern to them. Also remember the fact that this is not a regular retail bank, it's a cooperative bank. So a cooperative bank by nature means that this is money being pooled in by a lot of people to get the bank going. And if these very people who have put trust in that bank and have put their life savings into that bank and are not getting access to their money, it is obviously going to be a concern to them, Sakshi.
Absolutely, Karthik. Also, we are flashing the breaking news on the screens of our people as well, that the bank has now released a WhatsApp number, because we heard from a couple of people, they were saying that the helpline numbers were not responding. But as of now, the latest input is that the WhatsApp number has been given out by the bank authorities. Apart from that, we are also learning that several branches of this particular bank has taken a serious hit. Also talking about the financial operations that have taken a serious hit, Karthik, let's speak about the license of the bank. Is there any particular threat looming on the license of the bank? Should the people be worried with the bank entirely being cancelled?
So look, thankfully, cooperative banks are also regulated by the Reserve Bank of India. So as far as the guarantee of the money coming back to the consumers, well, at some level, I think the RBI is a fairly strong institution, Sakshi, and there should not be any reason to panic about the eventuality of the money ever getting returned to the account holders or not. I think RBI has been fairly focused in preempting some sort of financial misgivings and preventing that money to be lost eventually, and which is coming through by way of the RBI circular, that there is a restriction on new business being undertaken by the bank, and there is restriction on the amount of money that can be withdrawn over time. But as far as the safety, the security of the money is concerned, I think RBI is a fairly strong institution and is going to ensure that there isn't going to be a situation where account holders are cheated or duped of their money which they have put in the bank. But beyond that, at this moment, I think, let's not engage in speculation. We will have to wait for more details and really understand what are these financial irregularities and what are the misgivings, because like I told you, it doesn't seem to be a case of just KYC non-compliance or paperwork or books not being in order. This seems like a much larger case than that at this moment, Sakshi.
Absolutely, Karthik. Also, you have highlighted that this is not the first time that this particular bank has taken a hit. This has been going on for a while now. Is there any loophole for this particular bank? Let me understand it from your expert perspective, that what exactly can the bank do in sort of giving some sort of respite to the people who are currently in distress? What should be done from the bank's part?
I mean, see, I think the bank has started a helpline number, and hopefully, that should reassure customers to some extent about what is likely to happen and what the timeline seem to be. Right now, it seems like there's a 6-month window until which these restrictions are definitely going to stay. But I think what customers would also be wise to understand is that the financial position of the new India Co-operative Bank is not great by any standards. I was telling you about the kind of losses that it has been incurring, and I have those numbers with me right now. So about 2,277 lakh is the amount of losses, which is about give or take about 227 crore rupees or so of losses that it incurred in the year 2023-24, and this incidentally came down from about 307 crore odd losses which it incurred the year before. So remember, the Reserve Bank has also been very, very particular about NPAs, non-performing assets. And the PMC case that I was talking about earlier, which this one also seems to be resembling to a great extent, was again a case of irregular lending only to one customer in huge amounts, and then that customer, turning out to be a bad debt for the bank. So it seems like the books are stinking of some sort of a case like that at this moment, Sakshi, where there could be some lenders, and those lenders may be vulnerable, and I beg your pardon, those borrowers may be vulnerable right now and may not have the financial ability to repay their loans, and that is why the bank has been reporting losses after losses. And I'm sure the RBI is onto something. The RBI knows that there is something cooking and something which is stinking in the bank's books right now and its operations, and that is what the RBI is now trying to contain by way of this circular. First, number one, put a moratorium. You cannot go ahead, make more transactions, deposits can come in. So anybody who's likely to receive some money in that particular cooperative bank account will receive the money, but then withdrawals are getting restricted. Issuance of fresh loans are getting restricted, and by all of that, it means that the RBI is onto something, and in time we should be able to understand what exactly is it that the RBI is smelling in the books right now, and get some more clarity going forward. As far as the customers are concerned, well, I don't think they have much of a choice. They will have to abide by the circular issued by the RBI, and only those cases where the 5 lakh rupee withdrawal limit can be met will be met. Beyond that, for all other customers, it's pretty much a moratorium, and they will have to wait and see how this plays out.
Let's help our viewers understand, Karthik, this point also, how exactly their basic necessities, say their salaries, are going to take a serious hit because of this particular directive coming into the picture.
I mean, yeah, obviously there is going to be a hit on the financials of the customers, because if there is money parked in those banks and 26 out of those 32 branches have been ordered by RBI that the restriction will continue for another 6 months or so, obviously there is money at stake, and obviously there is going to be anger, and that anger is something that is visible right now on our screens and across multiple locations. But give or take, I think, it's a simple story. There's a bank, and the bank has messed up. The bank has not been able to to keep its books and its accounts clean. There are corporate governance issues prima facie right now, otherwise there's no reason for this circular to be issued, and until those issues are fixed, there's precious little that unfortunately customers of the bank will be able to do.
Right, Kartik, also please simplify the statement coming in from the regulator for us, this monetary ceiling of 5 lakh rupees in terms of the deposition. Could you please help us understand that aspect as well?
Can you repeat that question, Sakshi? Sorry.
That monetary ceiling of 5 lakh rupees. We just wanted you to simplify that for our viewers as well. What about those who have deposited beyond that?
Right, so I'm looking at the RBI circular right now, and let me read out exactly what the conditions of that 5 lakh rupee withdrawal are. So point number 3 in the RBI circular says that eligible depositors would be entitled to receive deposit insurance claim amount on their deposits up to a monetary ceiling of 5 lakh rupees. Now, what does this mean? This pretty much means that Reserve Bank of India, for the last many years has put this ceiling on fixed deposits, that your fixed deposits in a bank can be insured up to a maximum of 5 lakh rupees and not beyond that. And it seems that that clause is now kicking in, Sakshi, which this means is that for somebody who, let's say, hypothetically has 20 lakh rupees worth of fixed deposits in the new India Co-operative Bank, the maximum amount that will be made accessible to them right now under the RBI's scheme to insure fixed deposits is going to be up to 5 lakh rupees. So people who have deposited more than 5 lakh rupees, 6 lakh rupees, 20 lakh rupees, 1 crore rupees, whatever that amount may be, the maximum that they will be able to withdraw right now will be 5 lakh rupees and nothing beyond that. That is the insurance on deposits with banks, and that is the guarantee that RBI gives, that is the amount of, see, I mean, we all assume and sometimes fall prey to this fallacy that money in the bank is safe. Well, money in the bank is also safe only up to a certain limit and not beyond. It comes with its own risks. The risks, of course, in banks seem to be much lower than many other asset classes, but the fact is that your fixed deposits can be insured only up to 5 lakh rupees per account holder per account, and that is the clause which is kicking in right now. So no matter how huge, how large the corpus of money would be that you have invested in the new India Co-operative Bank, it seems at this moment the insurance clause kicks in that you can only withdraw up to 5 lakh rupees and not beyond that. For customers who have deposits under 5 lakh rupees, they should be able to use this insurance and reclaim all that money. But then again, there is some sort of a moratorium that seems to be in place right now. There are liquidity concerns with the bank as well. In fact, the bank's working capital is also at just about 2,900 crore rupees or so. So we don't know the ratio right now of the deposits to working capital available, how much of that money will be available as pure liquidity with the bank that it can shell out if there are so many people who line up. But it pretty much, takes me back, Sakshi, if you remember, to 2021 Silicon Valley Bank, when that collapsed in the United States in the aftermath of COVID-19. It was pretty much a case of bank run. What happens in a bank run typically is that depositors queue up outside bank and they want to quickly withdraw all the money. But banks sometimes don't have that liquidity available, and as a result of which the domino effect happens, the chips start falling and the bank eventually goes bust. That is exactly what happened with Silicon Valley Bank in the US, and we were witnessing some sort of a bank run even in the case of Paytm, on 31st of Jan 2024, when Paytm was also in a situation not similar to this. Paytm had irregularity on compliance and corporate governance, nothing similar to what we are seeing in this particular case. But again, it was meant to be some sort of a bank run, which could have potentially, forced people to reach the banks and withdraw as much money as they can. Thankfully, it did not reach there because the RBI had given a longer window. This time around also, there is a 6-month window available. But like I told you, there is this 5 lakh rupees insurance on deposits, which kicks in right now. So those who have deposited more than 5 lakh rupees may not be able to withdraw that full amount immediately.
Absolutely, Kartik. It's perfectly highlighted by you that we all think that till the time our money is in the bank, it's completely safe, but that also comes with a lot of restriction. In this particular case, we are looking at the visuals through our screens, the live one coming in straight from Andheri, Mumbai, from one of the branches, Kartik. We are looking at people crying. They are in agony, they are in pain, they are totally confused how to proceed in this particular situation. If their money that is currently there in the bank is in fact safe or not. In fact, Kartik, thank you so much for joining us and simplifying all of those details from the proper perspective of the statement that has come in. We'll request you to please stay on with us. We have our reporter joining us live on the broadcast, Jay Prakash, straight from Mumbai. जय प्रकाश, अगर आप मुझे सुन सकते हैं प्लीज हमें बताइए कि अभी वहां पे माहौल कैसा है, क्या लोग अभी भी कंफ्यूज्ड हैं, क्या बैंक वालों ने उनसे कुछ बातचीत की है, बताया है कि क्या कर सकते हैं आगे?
देखिए, बैंक के मैनेजर जो हैं अभी थोड़ी देर में आने वाले हैं और लोगों को ये बताने वाले हैं कि उनके जो उनका हार्ड अर्न मनी है, जो उनकी मेहनत की कमाई का पैसा है, वो उनको कब मिलेगा। मैं बैंक के जो गेट है उसके बाहर खड़ा हूं और यहाँ पर बैंक मैनेजर जो है वो आ रहे हैं और बैंक मैनेजर के आने के बाद यहाँ पर जो लोग पब्लिक खड़ी है, सैकड़ों की तादाद में यहाँ पर ग्राहक खड़े हैं जो अपने पैसे के मिलने का इंतजार कर रहे हैं। आपका कितना अकाउंट है अंदर, मैडम बताएं?
मेरा अभी तो 15,000 ही है। मेरा भाड़ा भरने का जो होता है ना, वो मैंने जमा किया था। आज मेरे को भाड़ा भरने का था, उसके लिए भी इधर आई, लेकिन मेरा पैसा ही डूब गया है।
बिल्कुल, जो लोग हैं, बैंक मैनेजर बाहर आ रहे हैं,
आ रहे बैंक मैनेजर बाहर आ रहे अभी वो आके इंटरेक्शन देगा पब्लिक को सब। हाँ,
और आरडी का भी जवाब देगा।
सब टोटल
तो लॉकर का पैसा मिल रहा है,
सिर्फ लॉकर चालू है बस।
अभी लॉकर चालू है और लॉकर का पैसा जो है, लॉकर में जो भी सेफ है, जो ज्वेलरी है, जो कैश है, जो डॉक्यूमेंट्स है प्रॉपर्टी के, वो तमाम डॉक्यूमेंट्स, हर चीज जो है लोग अपने घरों पर ले जा रहे हैं, बिकॉज लॉकर इज वेरी सेफ। लेकिन प्रॉब्लम यहाँ पर लोगों के सेविंग अकाउंट्स की है, फिक्स्ड डिपॉजिट अकाउंट्स की है, करंट अकाउंट्स की है। वो पैसा अब तक लोगों को कब मिलेगा, उसका टोकन कब दिया जाएगा, ये लोगों को जो है, लोगों का सवाल। आप देख सकते हैं कि मुंबई पुलिस ने ये पूरा मोर्चा संभाला हुआ है। मुंबई पुलिस की टीम बड़ी तादाद में यहाँ पर मौजूद है, कस्टमर्स को, ग्राहकों को समझा रही है। वो जो आप मेरे लेफ्ट साइड में क्यू देख रहे हैं, वो क्यू लॉकर के कस्टमर्स का है। उनको टोकन दे दिया गया है और टोकन देने के बाद वो अपने लॉकर के अंदर जाकर अपना कैश, अपनी ज्वेलरी, अपने डॉक्यूमेंट्स ले सकते हैं। लेकिन जो फिक्स्ड डिपॉजिट और रिकरिंग डिपॉजिट और करंट डिपॉजिट के, करंट अकाउंट के जो कस्टमर हैं, उनका पैसा उनको कब मिलेगा, इसके लिए लोगों में ज्यादा पैनिक है। मैं आपको बताऊं कि करीब 26 ब्रांच है इस न्यू इंडिया कोऑपरेटिव बैंक की, और ये जो 26 ब्रांच है ये मुंबई, पालघर, वसई, विरार, ठाणे और सूरत में है। और इन सभी जगहों पर लोगों में इसी तरीके का पैनिक है, लोगों में इसी तरीके का गुस्सा है। लेकिन अच्छी बात यह है कि लॉकर का एक्सेस दे दिया है बैंक ने, और बैंक के कर्मचारी, अधिकारी लगातार लोगों को समझाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं।
जी जयप्रकाश जी, हम चाहेंगे कि आप वहाँ पे जो लोग इकट्ठा हुए हैं आपके आसपास, जो उस लाइन में, उस कतार में काफ़ी सुबह से इंतज़ार कर रहे हैं, उनसे थोड़ा बातचीत करें, उनसे पूछें, उनसे बताएं कि उनका कितना पैसा फंसा हुआ है, उनको क्या चाहिए और उन्हें कब पता चला आखिर कि इस तरीके की जो है सिचुएशन क्रिएट होने वाली है।
बिल्कुल, मैं कुछ कस्टमर से बात करता हूं। सर आप जी लॉकर के देखिए, मैं आपको पहले ही दिखाना चाहता हूं कि जो लॉकर का एक्सेस जिन्होंने ले लिया है, वो कस्टमर अपना कीमती सामान लेकर बाहर निकल रहे हैं। आपको मिल गया क्या?
हाँ, मिल गया।
हाँ जी, सब सामान मिल गया, सब
लॉकर का मिल गया है।
लॉकर में जो सामान रखा,
जो सामान है वो निकलने दे रही है। अभी तो फिलहाल
लॉकरचं सगळं मिळालंय।
लॉकर का सामान मिल गया, लॉकर का सामान मिल गया है, पैसे भी सब मिल जाएंगे।
लॉकर के लिए टोकन दिया जा रहा है, सब लोग टोकन ले लो लॉकर के लिए।
सामान, लॉकर के पैसे, कीमती सामान जिसको मिल रहे हैं वो खुश होकर यहाँ से जा रहे हैं। लेकिन कुछ कस्टमर ऐसे हैं जिनका अभी तक सेविंग अकाउंट है आपका?
सेविंग अकाउंट है हम लोग का।
पैसा है?
हाँ, 5 तक है, मेरे हस्बैंड का है सब।
मेरे हस्बैंड के नाम पे है सब। मैं तो हाउस हो भी हो तो भिवंडी काम करते हैं। हाँ है सब। हम लोग ने बच्चों के लिए रखा था, जिसको पढ़ाई के लिए रखा था हम लोग। अभी तो बुढ़ा के आधार है हमारा, सब बच्चों के लिए पढ़ाई के लिए सब रखा है उनके लिए। अभी हम लोग को पैसा नहीं मिल रहा तो हम लोग क्या करेंगे?
आपका भी
है, बच्चे लोग का भी है यहाँ।
बिल्कुल, यहाँ पर पुलिस अनाउंसमेंट कर रही है और जो लोग हैं वो लगातार अनाउंसमेंट कर रहे हैं। लोगों को उनका पैसा मिलेगा। मराठी में ये बात की जा रही है, मैं आपको हिंदी में समझाता हूँ कि जिसके भी अंदर पैसे हैं वो उनका पैसा उनको मिलेगा। बैंक के मैनेजर बाहर आएंगे, जो डिसीजन है बैंक के मैनेजर बताएंगे। जो कंसर्न अथॉरिटी है वो भी बाहर आ रही है। लॉकर ऑपरेशन चालू है और जिनके सेविंग और करंट या रिकरिंग डिपॉजिट है वो थोड़ा इंतजार करें। जो अथॉरिटी है वो आएगी। देखिए बैंक के ये अधिकारी हैं जो बात कर रहे हैं लोगों से। लोग सवाल पूछ रहे हैं, रोज का मिलेगा ऐसा बता रहे हैं। लॉकर ऑपरेशन वाले अंदर जा सकते हैं। सेविंग करंट और रिकरिंग डिपॉजिट के लिए जो अथॉरिटी है वो आने वाली है, वो आपसे बात करेगी और लॉकर वाले पैनिक ना हो।
वर्किंग टाइम मध्ये येणार आहेत. मी तुम्हाला ते सांगतोय. FD RD आणि सेव्हिंग्स अकाउंट या रिगार्डिंग जे काही डिमांड डिपॉझिट आहेत त्या डिमांड डिपॉझिट बद्दल आमची एक वेगळी ऑथॉरिटी येणार आहे. ते तुम्हाला गाईड करतील त्या बाबतीत. त्याच्याबद्दल आता येणार आहेत. आता प्रत्येक ठिकाणी त्यांना ते जाऊन त्यांना सांगायचं आहे. तर थोडं तुमचं जे कॉपरेशन ठेवलंय तसंच ठेवा. लॉकर वाल्यांना ज्यांना वाटतंय की ते उद्या येऊ शकतात, परवा येऊ शकतात, त्यांनी थोडासा वेळ घेतला तरी चालेल. अरे यार लॉकर का बोल दिया ना एक बार. ओके ओके थैंक यू.
आप ये बता दें, आप इधर आ जाए. हमारे साथ बैंक का
आज क्यों झालेलं सगळं. अरे पब्लिक आहे.
अच्छा ठीक आहे. चला आता चला आता खाली करा.
रमेश नाला सुपाला उनके साथ आया था आपके आपकी लड़की का हुआ.
कार्तिक continues to stay on with us on the broadcast. जयप्रकाश जी, आपसे कहना चाहूंगी कि प्लीज आप वहां पे बने रहिए और अगर कोई आपसे बातचीत करे तो हमें वो भी बताते रहिए. कार्तिक, लेट्स कम बैक टू यू. लेट्स टॉक अबाउट व्हाट द बैंक मैनेजर हैज टू से. बट देयर इज अ ह्यूज confusion with regards to this investigation that has been going on from the RBI on this particular bank for the coming 6 months also, and the whip that has been generated. Could you please help us simplify that for our viewers, that what kind of restrictions have been put on the bank and how exactly does that also affect the customers of the bank?
Right, absolutely. So I think the restrictions are fairly simple. Let me just run through those restrictions once again. From what we understand right now, Sakshi, the bank is pretty much going to be in a state of no operations and in a state of moratorium as far as customers of saving bank accounts and current bank accounts are concerned, which means there can be no fresh withdrawals from saving bank accounts or current bank accounts by customers. That is point number one, which means if you have money lying in a bank account, you cannot use your ATM to withdraw that money. You cannot cut a check to anybody and transfer that money. You cannot walk into the bank and do a self check and get your cash back. So that means money which is lying in your saving account, in your current account, you pretty much don't have access to it for the next 6 months. That is point number one, and that is something which is likely to hit the savers hardest. Point number 2, the bank has been barred from disbursing any fresh loans. That means if you have a loan application, either a home loan, a car loan, a business loan, any other loan as a customer, if that application is with the bank and you're hoping to get that loan check in the next few days, you're not going to get that, which means the bank is not going to undertake any more lending business for the next 6 months. For the next 6 months, the customers who had applied for a loan are not going to get access to that loan, right? So that is point number 2. Point number 3 is, like I told you, the restrictions also continue to be on the fact that only the insurance on deposits can be claimed. Which means if you have a fixed deposit with the bank, a recurring deposit with the bank, if there is a sort of large deposit that you have made with the bank and that deposit has been insured up to the maximum limit of 5 lakh rupees, then that is all that you will get access to. Now, depending on the condition of the liquidity available in the bank's own cash flows, and whether it has that sort of an operating cash sitting in its vaults right now, only then would the bank be able to honor those insurance deposits as well. But as far as those insurance deposits go, it is pretty much the guarantee of the Reserve Bank of India to ensure that at some point you are going to get that money back. But then again, remember, that is applicable only up to a ceiling of 5 lakh rupees and not beyond that. That means if there is any deposit that you have which is more than 5 lakh rupees, the maximum that you will get under this insurance is going to be, or under this deposit insurance as it is called, is going to be only up to 5 lakh rupees. Now, over time, are you going to get that money? Are you not going to get that money? I think that's going to be a question of restructuring the bank, finding a bidder, finding a suitor who will want to take on the liabilities and the assets of the bank and then go ahead and proceed with business. But as of now, depositors, fixed deposit customers of the bank can withdraw only up to 5 lakh rupees. But again, they may not get access to that today. Tomorrow, it completely depends on what is the liquidity available in the bank right now, right? But eventually, you will get that money up to that 5 lakh rupees if you have deposits at 5 lakh, more than 5 lakh, under 5 lakh, up to 5 lakh rupees is the ceiling that you will definitely get. I just heard that locker operations are working just fine. There's a token system at the branches, so people who have physical lockers available in the bank, they can walk in, they can take a token, they can stand in the queue and they can empty out their vaults and they can take their physical assets, their physical jewelry, gold, etc. out of that locker. So there doesn't seem to be any restriction on that. Simply put, because that is in any case lying and the key of the locker is also held by the customer itself. So the bank is not really deploying that sort of vault of gold.
Kartik, my apologies for interrupting you over there. Please stay with us. I have further questions for you in this entire matter as well. But let's first listen into a word coming in. We have Shiv Sena Uddhav Bala Sahib Thackeray's factions Anand Dubey joining us on the broadcast. Mr. Dubey, thank you so much for speaking to News 9. What are your views with regards to this agony that has been caused to the people, specifically the customers of this bank that we are speaking about and discussing?
हेलो
जी, मिस्टर दुबे, आप मुझे सुन पा रहे हैं?
जी 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 बताएं।
जी, सर मुझे बताइए कि आपका क्या कहना है इस मामले में, क्योंकि हम देख रहे हैं कि लोग रो रहे हैं, सुबह से बैंक के बाहर खड़े हुए हैं, उनके कुछ सवाल हैं।
बहुत ही दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण स्थिति है। कोई भी जनता या कोई भी ग्राहक, उसको आप पहले विश्वास में तो लीजिए। आपको फिर कोई नियम लाने हैं, कुछ पाबंदी लानी है, कोई गाइडलाइन देनी है, तो उस बेचारे को तो विश्वास में लीजिए। उसकी क्या गलती है? आपके नियम कब बदल जाते हैं, कब आरबीआई क्या डिसीजन ले लेगी? बैंक्स को विश्वास में तो लेना चाहिए। उसके जो ग्राहक हैं, हजारों की संख्या में लोग परेशान हैं, अपनी मेहनत की कमाई वहां पर लगाए हुए हैं, तो वो तो रोएंगे, चिल्लाएंगे ना। और सरकार को तो कुछ समझ में आ नहीं रहा। सरकार को तो बस अहंकार, तानाशाही चाहिए। बहुत ही दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण है। कम से कम इसकी प्लानिंग होनी चाहिए थी। अगर आपको कुछ समझो, किसी के पैसे रखने भी अपने यहाँ, तो उसको बताइए तो भाई क्यों रख रहे हैं, क्यों नहीं रख रहे हैं, उसको विश्वास में क्यों नहीं लिया गया? तो ये तो एक दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण स्थिति है ना।
सुनने में आ रहा है कि लॉकर का एक्सेस दिया जा रहा है। हमने कुछ लोगों से बात भी करी, हमारे रिपोर्टर जो अभी ग्राउंड पे है, वो कह रहे हैं कि लॉकर के लिए कोई पाबंदी नहीं है, वो जा रहे हैं, वो
नहीं, बट लोग पैनिक क्यों हो रहे हैं? लोग क्यों डरे हुए हैं? वो गाइडलाइन क्यों नहीं बैंक की तरफ से उनको मुहैया हुई है?
आपको क्या लगता है इस मामले में क्या करना चाहिए? सरकार क्या कर सकती है लोगों के लिए?
सरकार आरबीआई से बात करे और लोगों को कम से कम गाइडलाइन जारी करे, ताकि लोग पैनिक न हो। उनको विश्वास में दिलाए कि आपके पैसे नहीं डूबेंगे, वरना तो लोग चिल्लाएंगे ना।
हम ये भी सुन सकते हैं दुबे जी कि 6 महीने तक कुछ इसी तरीके से चलने वाला है। आरबीआई जो है वो अच्छी तरीके से फंक्शनिंग देखना चाहती है बैंक की कि क्या है, तो 6 महीने तक अगर ये मामला इसी तरीके से रहता है तो आप उस बारे में क्या कहना चाहते हैं?
तो परमिशन क्यों दिया बैंक्स को आरबीआई ने? अगर बैंक को विश्वास ही नहीं है बैंक पर आरबीआई को, तो क्यों उनको परमिशन दिया? लोगों ने पैसे तो बैंक को देख के किए हैं ना, उन्हें क्या पता लेना देना दुनियादारी। तो ये सारी चीजें जो हैं ये बहुत ही दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण है। इसके लिए सरकार को संज्ञान लेना चाहिए, तत्काल प्रभाव से गाइडलाइन जारी करनी चाहिए और जो भी हजारों लोगों के पैसे उनके पास हैं उनकी सिक्योरिटी देनी चाहिए कि आपके पैसे नहीं कहीं जाएंगे, वरना कौन विश्वास करेगा।
दुबे जी, हमसे जुड़ने के लिए और हमसे बातचीत करने के लिए आपका बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया। माय कॉलीग Karthik continues to stay on with us on the broadcast. Karthik, let's also talk about if the situation continues to stay on like this for 6 months. It is going to be problematic even for the RBI.
Absolutely right, and I think I'm reading the RBI circular a little more in detail right now, Sakshi, and there is one important factor that pops out, and this is that that while there is restriction on customers withdrawing money from their saving accounts or their current accounts, if the same depositor has, let's say, a loan running with the bank, then the amount of money which is lying in the saving account or current account may be adjusted against the balance loan amount. So this is one new item that I'm just discovering as I'm reading a little deeper into this story. But yeah, I think broadly, Sakshi, the story stays to our understanding as is right now, that savings bank account customers, current bank account customers cannot go pop their ATM card in a ATM machine, get cash dispensed. That's not going to happen. They can't write checks and they can't issue demand drafts, and they can't really, the money lying in their banks right now is going to be dormant for the foreseeable future of the next 6 months at least, is what the scene seems to be like right now. Thankfully, I was telling you about the lockers. Thankfully, there is access to the lockers simply because by virtue of being a bank and just a custodian of the wealth, that too with very limited liabilities, banks allow customers to rent a space which is guarded by the bank. So hence the money or the money worth of assets which are lying in a locker is not something that the bank can use to either mortgage it and raise money and lend it out to somebody, or rotate that as part of its own cash operation. So thankfully there is no restriction on the lockers. You can go, you can empty out your lockers and you can sort of be with it. But as far as money lying in the bank is concerned, unfortunately that is what customers are stuck with right now in this moment, and hence the anger and the panic and really wanting to get some answers from the bank, which they are not really seeming to get at this moment.
Right, Karthik. So there are a lot of questions, but only limited answers. Agony pouring in, coming outside of the bank at the moment. Complete pandemonium, Karthik. Thank you so much for joining us and simplifying all of those details for our viewers. As of now, this is the latest that we have picked up. We'll continue to track the story very, very closely. Right now, shifting focus. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a very interesting one. What will be the future of crime and how should we tackle it? That's the question that was discussed at the key summit on the future of crime in the national capital. Now, top intelligence and cyber security experts, as well as those from the defense and security agencies, participated in 2 days of an engaging session. The event tried to address the requirements of law enforcement agencies and legal community with regard to the complex crimes of future. Experts, in fact, also discussed the increasing complexity of these technology-based crimes and the need for a cutting-edge forensic investigation technique.
So ProDiscover, we have built ProDiscover with the single agenda of helping law enforcement solve more crimes and protect the innocent. So and this we do with constant engagement with the police, with the intelligence, with legal community, following